Lovecraftian horror was named after H.P. Lovecraft, who is considered to have created and popularized the genre. Just about every form of media has had some representation of the Lovecraftian horror genre. In this video, we're going to be discussing why I and so many others are fascinated by H.P. Lovecraft's work. But, before we can analyze it, the question we need to ask is, Lovecraftian horror uses three key elements to build its atmosphere: the fear of the unknown, the uncanny valley, and the incomprehensible powers that act just beyond our vision. The exact use of these foundations can vary from writer to writer, but Lovecraft used his own fears of the ocean, space, and various other things, places of endless curiosity and the potential for danger, to put the viewer into his shoes and feel his fear. His most notable works, like The Call of Cthulhu, Shadow over Innsmouth, and The Color Out of Space, feature heavy themes of the water, and the bulk of Lovecraft's creatures come from the depths of space originally. That's actually where the genre finds one of its other names, in cosmic horror, although some would consider this to be an entirely separate genre. Unfortunately, despite these unique claims to his stories, H.P. Lovecraft didn't garner that many readers at the time. That's because the audience for traditional Lovecraftian horror stories is largely niche, even by today's standards. It's a wide net with many holes. The nature of Lovecraftian horror, being so abstract and subjective, can turn people away from what they tend to expect and understand conventional horror writing to be. It didn't help that, while Lovecraft wrote over 70 stories in his career, he could only get them published in pulp and science fiction magazines to little audience numbers. While the genre has always been popular in a broad sense, it didn't really start seeing the climb of interest until after H.P. Lovecraft's death. It wasn't until authors like Alan Moore and Stephen King provided a new lens for large scale audiences and the likes of comic book fans and film audiences that the genre really started to spread more actively. As new authors began to spread the influence of Lovecraft's work, many mainstream pieces of media in the Lovecraftian horror genre have managed to meet their audiences. Stephen King's stories like It and the Green Mile, Netflix's Stranger Things, and Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse have reached many audiences with great success. The Lighthouse, by the way, has nothing to do with the original.
Funny, a man walking along these rocks year after year, and all of a sudden he slips, nearly kills himself.
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing. Just funny.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
In the discussion of horror, the debate of what makes good horror is largely subjective. I feel the only way to describe the effect of these abstract elements to the genre is to describe one of my favorite pieces of Lovecraft inspired media: 2023's Dredge. In 2023, Black Salt Games released their indie debut Dredge to critical success. The game's grim take on the typically calm nature of the fishing game genre was a breath of fresh air to the gaming community. Your ship crashed in a storm, and you woke up with no memory in the town of Greater Marrow, the main hub of the game. The cast you interact with are an eccentric group, each giving you just enough information to know about them and keep you moving forward. There's the shipwright, the fishmonger, the mayor, the hermit, and the collector. Each of them has some edge or question about them to make you wonder just how much you really understand your current situation. As mentioned, you have amnesia. In order to recover your memory, you must collect the relics pointed out to you by the collector, who lives in the Blackstone Lighthouse. In our mission to find the relics, we have to travel to four main areas: the Gale Cliffs, the Stellar Basin, Devil's Spine, and the Twisted Strand. Each one offers a variety of fish, some having particular requirements to catching them, as we start fitting the pieces of our scattered memory together. As you collect the ancient relics, giving them to the collector will grant the player abilities and more insight into their lost memory. These abilities don't come cheap, though. Each use of these powers drains your sanity, inviting uncomforting events to occur. red swirly things, parasites, black goop, a kraken, countless other abominations. This darkness has always been present in the waters surrounding Greater Marrow. It manifests into aberrations, eldritch mutations of marine life, and this scientist, as well as the low sanity events you'll encounter in the water. You can't progress through the story without plunging yourself into the dangers of the ocean, and that's the sticking point to me. If you want to figure out what's happening to you, you have to be the one to play outside your comfort zone. The atmosphere and utilization of the genre's foundation work to create a cycle within the gameplay loop. You need to sell fish to progress, so you go out to collect fish, you get attacked, and then you sell what you can. The suspense builds as it gets closer to night. It grows stronger until something happens. Then you get lulled into thinking you're safe just to do it all over again. Rinse and repeat until the credits roll. I won't spoil what happens at the end of the game, but you can see these connective threads. The mystery, the suspenseful nature, the way the world seems to make you shrink into these wide, silent expanses, making you realize that you're just an insignificant speck in the scope of the ocean. There's this slow burn, along with what particularly frightful moments keep you on edge of what lies just beneath the waves at all times. Now, while fishing video games might not be everyone's thing, that's not the only way of getting in on this eldritch media experience. I'm willing to bet you've seen some of Lovecraft's influence in your own media without ever realizing it. Even outside of the horror genre, media of all sorts pay some sort of homage to Lovecraft's influence. From Skyrim's Apocrypha and the Daedric Prince Hermaeus Mora to Stephen King's Pennywise and John Coffey, who derive their powers from cosmic and divine forces in the Deadlights and the Shine, respectively. Even in the bright and pixelated worlds of Terraria, there are the likes of the Eye of Cthulhu and the Moon Lord, who take very clear influence from Lovecraft's work, being named after or being directly designed after Cthulhu. The concepts and iconography of Lovecraft's work are flexible enough to exist in all these different ways, while still feeling organic to the source material. The sheer amount of influence that Lovecraft has had is undeniable in the modern pop culture landscape. The many worlds of myth and fiction are full of these kinds of stories, these fears of our own mortality and the incomprehensible dangers that we can do nothing about. I'm glad to live in a world where I don't have to worry about anything that upsetting. Thanks for watching the video.